$6,000 in credit card debt, 22 years to clear it, $9,000 in interest on top. He was paying it every month, on time, perfectly, and it was going to follow him for over 2 decades and cost him $15,000 in total, and he had no idea because nothing in the system he was using was designed to show him that number. He never missed a payment. Not once, not in 4 years. Every direct debit cleared on time. Every statement balanced. Every due date met with the quiet precision of someone who takes these things seriously. If you had asked him whether he was in control of his money, he would have said yes without hesitation, and he would have been telling you what he genuinely believed. What he did not understand was that the most expensive financial habit he had ever developed was not the spending. It was the way he was paying. This video is about a mechanism built into modern retail that restructures how your brain perceives cost. By the end, you will have a 3-step test that takes 90 seconds and shows you the real price of anything sold to you as a monthly payment, before you commit to it rather than after. He was 31 years old. He had moved into his flat 18 months earlier, the first place that was entirely his. No flat mates, no shared kitchen, no compromise on the sofa. He had furnished it across 6 months using interest-free finance deals from 4 different retailers, plus a credit card he told himself he would clear within the year. The finance deals had seemed straightforward. 0% interest for 12 months on the sofa, 24 months on the bed frame and mattress, 18 months on the dining table and chairs, 12 months on the television. He had read the terms carefully enough to feel informed, and not carefully enough to understand what carefully meant in this particular context. What he had not done was add the monthly payments together. Not once across the entire 18 months. Each payment arrived separately, each one cleared without drama. The sofa was $42 a month. The bed was $61. The dining set $38, the television $34, and the credit card minimum was $89. He had never written those numbers in a column and added them up. When he finally did, on an unremarkable Sunday evening when he was trying to understand why his savings were not growing despite the fact that he was not spending extravagantly, the number at the bottom of the column was $264. $264 every month, leaving his account before he made a single discretionary decision, before food shopping, before transport, before anything he thought of as spending. Gone before the month started, in amounts he had never seen as a total because they had arrived in pieces small enough to feel manageable individually and large enough to matter completely when finally assembled. He did not close the laptop. He did not pick up his phone. He sat there. In the last video on this channel, we examined the social mirror tax, the invisible cost of spending to remain visible in a social circle, money that leaves in individual reasonable decisions and only reveals its true size when you write every item in one place and look at the total. What he was looking at now was the same pattern in a different mechanism entirely. Not social pressure, something more architectural, something built into the structure of how modern retail has learned to price things. Because here is what the monthly payment actually is. It is not a convenience. It is a redesign of the question. When a purchase is presented as a single total price, your brain asks one question: can I afford this? It weighs the number against your sense of your own financial position and either clears it or does not. The friction is real, and it is useful because it is calibrated to the actual cost of the thing. When the same purchase is presented as a monthly payment, your brain asks an entirely different question. Can I afford this much per month? And the answer to that question is almost always yes, because the monthly number has been specifically engineered to fall below the threshold that triggers resistance. Not the full cost, not the interest, not the total you will pay across the life of the agreement. Just the monthly number, offered in isolation. In a moment when the thing you want is in front of you, and the relief of being able to afford the monthly version of it is larger than any arithmetic you are prepared to do right then. Consumer behavior research has a name for this: payment decoupling. The separation of the pleasure of ownership from the pain of paying for it, distributed across months until the pain arrives in portions too small to feel, while the pleasure arrives all at once on the day you carry the thing home. I remember reading something Benjamin Franklin wrote about small expenses once, years ago, in a biography I picked up before I understood why it would stay with me. He was writing about leaks, small ones, the kind that feel inconsequential until you find the water. He said a small leak will sink a great ship. He was not writing about buy now, pay later. He was writing about human nature. But the observation has never had a more precise target than it does now. In an economy that has spent decades perfecting the technology of making large costs feel like small ones, the monthly payment is the leak. And the ship is everything that money could have become. He had grown up watching his father manage money in a specific way. His father paid for things in full or he did not buy them, a discipline shaped by a period when finance deals carried their interest rates printed large on the front of the agreement rather than buried in the terms beneath the signature line. His father had told him once, when he was about 17 and wanted something expensive, that the most dangerous thing a salesman can do is make something feel affordable that is not. He had nodded the way a 17-year-old nods at wisdom he is not yet equipped to need. He thought about that conversation on the Sunday evening with the column of numbers. The sofa had been $1,299, at $42 a month over the 36-month term that followed the interest-free period, assuming he did not clear the balance before the promotional rate expired. It would cost him $1,512 in total, not because the retailer was dishonest. Because the agreement was structured so that the interest-free period ended at precisely the moment when most people had long since stopped thinking about the original price and had adjusted to the monthly payment as a permanent line in the budget, like rent, like utilities. He had adjusted to it. He had stopped thinking about the sofa as something that cost $1,299 and started thinking about it as something that cost $42 a month, which was the version of the cost that appeared on his statement and required his attention. His brain had filed it under managed, resolved, handled. The feeling of being in control of debt and the reality of being in control of debt are not the same thing. They can point in opposite directions for years, while the feeling remains entirely intact. He had a credit card balance of $6,000. He had carried it for 14 months. He had never missed the minimum payment. The minimum payment was approximately $120 a month, which was the smallest amount that would keep the account in good standing without reducing the principal in any meaningful way. He thought minimum meant minimum required to make progress. It does not. Minimum means minimum required to keep the account open and the interest accruing. At approximately 20% annual interest, his $6,000 balance would take approximately 22 years to clear at minimum payments. 22 years. Not because he was careless, not because he was avoiding the debt, because he had never been told what minimum payment means in years and in interest. Because every month the account showed as current and his credit score showed as healthy, and nothing in the system he was using was designed to surface the total cost of the approach he was taking. The total interest on $6,000 over 22 years of minimum payments was approximately $9,000. $9,000 in interest on a $6,000 debt. The furniture was not costing him what the price tag said. It was costing him that, plus the interest, plus the opportunity cost of the $120 a month that was leaving his account as a minimum payment. instead of entering his future as a contribution to something that grew. He looked at the column of numbers. He had never seen any of this as a single picture before. The furniture was not costing him what the price tag said. It was costing him that, plus the interest, plus the opportunity cost of the $120 a month that was leaving his account as a minimum payment, instead of entering his future as a contribution to something that grew. He looked at the column of numbers. He had never seen any of this as a single picture before. There are two versions of the next 15 years. In the first version, nothing changes. The minimum payments continue. The credit card balance moves slowly, almost imperceptibly, each payment making just enough progress to prevent the balance from growing, while not making nearly enough to reduce it in any time frame that would feel like freedom. The finance deals run their course. The interest-free periods expire. The balances roll into standard rates. The monthly payments increase slightly, and he adjusts his budget around the new number the way he has adjusted around every new number before it. Because adjustment is what you do when the alternative feels large and the present feels manageable. He buys a car in 3 years, a sensible, practical choice. The dealer presents it at $340 a month over 60 months. $340 feels entirely manageable. He does not multiply 340 by 60. The total is $20,400. The car is listed at $17,500. The difference is $2,900. He never calculates it because $340 a month is the only number that lives in the room where the decision is made. He tells himself he is being responsible. He is choosing the practical option. He is not buying anything he cannot afford. He is right about all of it, in the narrow sense. He can afford $340 a month. The question he never asks is what $340 a month is actually buying him, and what it would buy him if it went somewhere else. In 15 years, he has never in his adult life been entirely free of a monthly payment obligation. There has always been something. The credit card almost cleared, then one unexpected expense that brought it back. The finance deal that ended and was followed by another because the flat needed something, or the phone needed replacing, or the moment arrived when spreading the cost seemed sensible. He is not in crisis. He is not the person in difficulty that cautionary tales are written about. He is comfortable in the way that most people in his position are comfortable, which is to say the monthly obligations are met, and the savings do not grow at the rate he intends, and the gap between what he earns and what he has accumulated is wider than it ought to be for someone who has, in every single month of his adult life, paid every bill on time. He cannot explain the gap. He will never be able to explain it without adding up what the monthly payments have collectively cost him across 15 years. In the second version, he does one calculation. Not a complex one, not one that requires a financial advisor or a spreadsheet. He takes the credit card balance, $6,000. He looks at the minimum payment, $120 a month. He calculates what $120 a month invested consistently in a broad index fund at 7% average annual return over 20 years would become. $52,000. He sits with that number. $52,000 is what $120 a month becomes when it is working for him rather than against him. When it is building a position in a fund rather than servicing a balance that barely moves. The amount is the same. The direction is different, and direction in compound arithmetic is everything. He makes a decision. He puts every available dollar at the credit card balance. He does not add to it. He does not use it. He treats it the way you treat a fire in a room you intend to keep. You do not manage the temperature. You put it out. It takes 8 months, not the 6 he planned, because life did not stop while he was clearing it and 2 unexpected costs arrived, and one went on the card before he caught it. But after 8 months, the balance was zero. Zero. He remembers looking at the app on the morning the final payment cleared. The balance read zero, and he stayed on that screen a moment longer than necessary. Every previous visit had shown him something he owed. This one showed him nothing. The account open, the obligation gone, the monthly $120 with nowhere left to go except forward. It became the monthly contribution to an index fund. He did not feel the change in his lifestyle. The number leaving his account was identical, but the destination had changed, and the destination is everything in this arithmetic. The true cost test is what he used to make sure it never happened in the same way again. Not to stop buying things, not to live in the permanent austerity that personal finance advice sometimes drifts toward, as though the goal of managing money well is to want less and spend less and arrive at the end with the largest number on the smallest life. That is not what this channel is about. This channel is about making the decisions you make. Anyway, with the information, the people selling you things prefer you not to have. Here is the framework. The true cost test. 3 steps, done before any monthly payment decision. 90 seconds. Step 1. Multiply the monthly payment by the number of months. That is the true price, not the sticker price. The actual number of dollars leaving your account across the full life of the agreement. Write it down on something physical. The act of writing it changes how the number lands. Step 2. Subtract the sticker price. The difference is what the convenience costs you. The interest, the fees, the administrative cost of not paying in full at the moment of purchase. This number is not hidden from you. It is simply never stated in the room where the decision is made, because the room where the decision is made is specifically designed to keep your attention on the monthly number. Step 3. Ask the one question that changes everything. If this total number were printed on the price tag instead of the sticker price, would you still buy it? Not the monthly amount, the total, the real number. If the answer is yes, buy it. You have made a genuinely informed decision. You know what the thing costs, and you have decided it is worth that price, which is a completely defensible position. If the answer requires a pause that was not there when the monthly number was the only number in the room, you have learned something important before the decision rather than after it. That is the whole test. The true cost test is one piece of the complete framework this channel is building across these videos. Understanding what things actually cost is the entry point. The complete system connects how you spend, how you save, how you invest, and how you negotiate the salary that determines the foundation everything else is calculated from. But start here, because you cannot build on a foundation that is being quietly eroded by obligations you have never seen as a total. There is something worth understanding about why this test is not already built into the buying experience. It is not because the sellers forgot to include it. Monthly payments produce higher purchase agreement rates than total prices. This is studied. It is documented. It is the reason every car showroom, every furniture retailer, every phone upgrade conversation, every buy now pay later checkout screen shows you the monthly number first, largest, and most prominently. The monthly number is not information. It is a framing. The true cost test takes the framing apart and replaces it with the number the framing was designed to keep you from calculating. Let me show you what this costs across a life. Not a dramatic life, not the cautionary tale of someone who lost control, an ordinary one, the kind where the person is careful and responsible and never misses a payment and still finds, at 45 or 50, that the gap between what they earned and what they have is wider than it should be for someone who always did the right things. Person A and person B same age, same income, same broad expenses. The only difference is what they do with monthly payment decisions from the age of 28 onward. Person A uses the monthly payment option whenever it is available and the monthly number feels affordable. The car, the furniture, the phone upgrade every 2 years on a new monthly contract. The home improvement financed over 3 years. The holiday on the credit card cleared at the minimum until a new one follows it. Not recklessly, manageably. The way that looks from the inside like doing fine. Person A tells themselves, when the next finance offer arrives, that they are being practical. That spreading the cost is the sensible choice. That people who pay in full for everything are either wealthy or unnecessarily cautious. They are not wrong that spreading cost is sometimes sensible. They are wrong about which costs it is sensible to spread and by how much and for how long. Over 20 years, Person A carries an average monthly debt obligation of $300. Some months more, some months less, but $300 a month as a conservative estimate of what managing debt this way costs someone who is, by every ordinary measure, handling things. $300 a month over 20 years is $72,000 paid in debt service. But the cash paid out is not the full cost. The full cost includes what that $300 a month would have become if it had been directed somewhere else. $300 a month invested at 7% average annual return over 20 years becomes approximately $156,000. Person B applies the true cost test before every monthly payment decision, not to every purchase. They buy things, they live fully. They make the same broad consumption choices Person A makes with one difference. Before any commitment involving monthly payments, they run the 3 steps. Total cost. Subtract sticker price. Would you buy it at the total? Some purchases survive the test. They buy those. Some do not. They delay those until they can pay in full or decide they did not want the thing enough to pay its true price. Person B carries an average monthly debt obligation of approximately $80 rather than $300. Not 0, 80. Because some financed purchases are entirely rational once you know the total cost. But the gap is smaller because the test removes the purchases that only survive the original conversation, because the monthly number concealed what they actually cost. The $220 monthly difference between Person A and Person B, invested at 7% over 20 years, becomes approximately $114,000. Same income, same job, same life broadly. $114,000 apart. From one question asked before every monthly payment commitment. This calculation assumes $220 per month invested at 7% average annual return over 20 years. 7% is the approximate historical average annual return of a broad diversified market index after inflation adjustment. It is not a guarantee. It is a historically grounded assumption. Your actual return will vary. $114,000 is not an abstraction. It is the redundancy in year 12 that feels like a setback rather than a crisis. It is the emergency fund that was always full rather than always almost rebuilt. It is the retirement that starts on the day you chose rather than the day the numbers finally allow it. It is the particular freedom that comes from having options, not because your income is exceptional, but because the money that came in was not quietly, consistently redirected to service commitments made in conversations where only one number was ever visible. He understood this on a Sunday evening in his flat. Not through a complex analysis, through a column of numbers he had been capable of writing for 18 months and had simply never written. There is one more thing this video needs to say about monthly payments, and it is the part that makes this pattern genuinely difficult to break rather than merely inconvenient to break. Monthly payments do not just affect the purchases they are attached to. They change how your brain understands what things cost. When you have been making monthly payment decisions for several years, the brain recalibrates its cost reference points. A car at $400 a month stops being a $24,000 car. It becomes a $400 monthly expense. And $400 a month is a number you can absorb into a budget without restructuring anything, while $24,000 requires a different kind of engagement entirely. The recalibration is gradual. It does not announce itself. You do not notice the morning it happens. You just gradually find that the monthly number is the first figure you look for, and the total is the one you would have to choose to calculate yourself. And choosing to calculate it requires a deliberate step that the buying experience is not designed to prompt you to take. The true cost test is that deliberate step, built into a habit, applied before every commitment. He runs it before every monthly payment decision now. It takes 90 seconds. In the past year, it has changed 3 decisions he would have made without hesitation if the monthly number had been the only number in the room. One of them was a car upgrade. The monthly payment was $60 more than his current car. $60 felt like nothing. The total over 60 months was $3,600 more than his current car's remaining payments. He kept the current car, not because he could not afford $60 a month, because he could not justify $3,600 for an upgrade that $60 a month had made feel like almost nothing. The framing was the product. The car was secondary. The next video on this channel examines a different kind of invisible cost, not money leaving your account through payments, money that never entered your account at all, sitting in a property you were told was an investment, doing something quite different from what you were told it would do. Before you close this video, do one thing. Take every monthly payment commitment you currently have, multiply each one by the number of months remaining, add them all together, write the number at the bottom of the list. Not the monthly number, the total. If that number is larger than you expected, you have already answered the question this video was asking. The only question left is what you are going to do about it. Till the next video, signing off, David Hangrove. Hope you like the content. Comment down your thoughts or experiences. Signing off, David Hangrove.